There's a lot of fun things happening over in Wayland, but sometimes I just want to talk about something old and dumb. In this case, not actually old, it's a relatively new project, but very inspired by the old. So, this is not Windows 2000. It might look like Windows 2000, it might kind of behave like Windows 2000, but this is Debian. This is a Debian system that kind of looks like it. At the same time, though, it's also not just a KDE skin. So there is a lot of these KDE skins where they're inspired by, various different things, whether it be Windows 98, Windows 2000, Windows 7, I'm sure there's a Windows 11, there's macOS, there's a bunch of other things, one of the prime examples being Aero Theme Plasma. This is really cool, I need to do a video on this as well, but that is not what this is. This is something very, very special. This is a project called ice2k.sys. It is very early, it is kinda buggy, but I think it is really, really cool. And you know it's cool because it's hosted on NeoCities. I very rarely see this nowadays, but it's always nice to see. So, what you're looking at here is basically a custom environment based on IceWM. This is a window manager that's been around since 1997. And don't be scammed by the GitHub thinking it hasn't had a release in quite a long time. This says the last release was in 2017. Yes, GitHub releases. However, if we go from releases and then go to tags, it last had a tag in August. They just don't use the releases page. This is a 28-year-old window manager that is still actively being developed. And you know what? Respect. I don't use it myself. I don't know anyone who actively uses it, but that's awesome. If you want to be pedantic, it's not the original dev, it's not the original repo, this is technically a fork of the original IceWM, but somebody is keeping it going. Now, there is a lot going on in the Ice2k repo. A lot of the commit messages are not exactly helpful, probably because they didn't expect anyone to actually be looking at the project. But this is a collection of themes and tools and custom tools and a bunch of stuff you need to try to make this actually feel like Windows 2000. Because again, this isn't just a theme on top of KDE. This is really trying to replicate that Windows 2000 experience, even in ways where it actively makes things worse. One thing that doesn't make it worse, though, I've gone and done a restart just so I can show you what happens when you first start the system. Let's run startx. Do you remember when computers made noises? What a different time that was. So with this trying to really be a Windows 2000 clone, you immediately see what I'm talking about. It doesn't have any Linux branding on it. It is actually just ripping art directly from Windows 2000. And you might be wondering, what the hell do some of these buttons do? Like, what is register your copy of Windows 2000 Professional? It opens Xmessage. This is not implemented yet. What about Discover Windows? That's the same thing. It's also not implemented yet. You're going to see a lot of random things across this environment where it's not actually done yet because it's still very early on. It's still very experimental. But even so, I think they've really got the general look down. With that being said, that doesn't mean there is no fun to be had whatsoever. So let's go and open up my documents. Let's open up my computer, let's open up my network places and the recycle bin. So, like this is probably the most complete part of the environment. I don't have a lot of experience with Windows 2000, that's a little bit before my time, but from my experience, this seems to have the look. Obviously, some things need to be more Linux-oriented, like the way the path is shown and other little things like that. But this is it. And a big part of the reason the file manager feels the most complete is this is actually based on a project that is trying to replicate that old Windows-style file manager, that Windows-style file explorer. It is based on XFE, the X File Explorer. This is a Microsoft Explorer or Commander-like file manager for X Window, Linux, and BSD systems. This is probably something most people haven't actively used, but again, is something that is still actively being developed today. There is this like weird little subset of the FOSS community that really likes the idea of making things look like old Windows. And considering all of these things here are literally just opening a file manager, they all work exactly as you'd expect. Obviously, with the recycle bin, this also goes to the correct Linux location. Obviously, you couldn't go to the Windows one. Now, let's go over to the start menu because, again, this kind of gets the vibe down really well. And there's two things in here that I really do want to focus on. Windows Update and Run. So, Run basically acts as a shell prompt to open an application, which is basically what it does over on the Windows side as well. It's just nobody really thinks about it like that. So if I run xterm in here, it's going to go and open up xterm. If I run anything else on my system, it's going to do the same thing. As for the Windows Update part, for this, I need to show you the browser. So this is kind of disappointing, and I do hope this part is dealt with, but it's firstly, loading fonts weirdly, but besides that, very not customized Firefox. I would really like to see what you could do with this, making it inspired by Windows 2000, because there is a lot of customization you can do to Firefox, and, well, seeing it like it is, I know there's more that can be done here. So let's go and just close this window and go to Windows Update. So, this just opens the download page for ice2k.sys, which, you know, is as close as you're gonna get to a Windows update. Now, a lot of other little things like rearranging things in your bar, doing a minimize, bringing it back, stuff like that, all of that works basically as you'd expect. And so does the system tray. Clicking on the sound. Again, remember when computers made noise? For volume, that's actually useful. I don't know why this has kind of gone away. It still happens on the Windows side, but this should be a thing that every single volume control on Linux also does. Let me know how loud the volume is when I change the volume. We also have a little thing here that if I had battery power, it would tell me about battery power. I don't have battery power. And the other one, safely remove hardware. Well, I don't have anything in here that I could really remove. I guess I could remove the DVD-ROM from the VM. I don't know if that's going to work, actually. Okay, maybe I either can't do that or the button doesn't work. Again, this is in a virtual machine. Not entirely sure about that one. Another area that looks really good is these settings. Let's go to Control Panel. And again, this has really nailed the look. However, some of the buttons, a lot of the buttons don't actually do anything yet. Add and remove programs? Nope. Appearance? Nope. Game controllers? Nope. Date and time? This one actually does work. That's good. Display. Here we have a lot of fun. We have screensavers. Let's go to Ant. Apply. Preview. Ooh. I'm pretty sure this is just X screensaver. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I'm pretty sure this is literally just X screensaver because that's, you know, usually the main thing you would go with when you're doing things on the Linux side. I love the Lightning one. The Lightning one's so dumb. Yes, I know, like, screensavers are a thing which nowadays don't fundamentally have a reason to exist. The reason why they existed in the past is because powering down a monitor was actually a time-consuming thing. Nowadays, you can just sleep the monitor and you're fine. I still do like them, though. And I do kind of wish that they were a thing we had on modern systems, even though they are basically just a waste of electricity. As for the settings tab, this one, everything is just grayed out, so I'm not sure if this is because of the virtual machine or this just doesn't work yet, but yeah, just keep that in mind. Again, everything here is very, very early. Does this actually work? Let's set a new color for the background. Let's go with green and then apply. Okay, that's a horrible color, but at least that does work. Fonts, this one does work. This is just a basic font picker. Input, nope. Internet, it just opens up the Firefox settings, which, you know what, is better than nothing. That does work. It is technically internet settings. Modems, nope. Sounds and multimedia, this one does work and literally just opens up Ulsa Mixer, which, again, is something. It's better than nothing. Network connections, this one does work. And if we go and click on our Ethernet here, there is some properties in here. It doesn't list anything about the connection, but we do have the option to go and enable and disable it. Let's go and edit the interfaces file. Okay, that button doesn't work. Power, nope. Printers, opens up the Firefox printer selection, which, again, like network, is something. It's better than nothing. And then lastly, system, the most important one. Of course, this one has to work. Now, not everything in here is entirely working. For example, all of these are entirely grayed out. There is some stuff in here. There is some stuff in here. Environment variables opens up your .profile, which again is definitely environment variables. You know, it's what you'd expect. Startup and recovery. This is just grub. Maybe not what I would expect from this one, but again, the button does something. But this right here, this is the most important screen. As for that other thing under these settings, the IceWM configuration, it's the config file in Nano. Hey, again, it does work. Now, going and trying to, open up an application here, it's gonna do what you expect. Now, a lot of these things, I actually don't know how many of these are from installing Debian, and they don't work because of that, and how many are actually from this environment. So, I can't really be sure about what is supposed to be themed and what is not supposed to be themed, but like Firefox, you're gonna see things that are themed and things that aren't. For the most part, the custom components, those are the best currently handled. Now, considering how early this is and how buggy it can be, the dev does not recommend running this on your own hardware. However, if you would like to install it, you can go and have a look at the README and see what you can do. It's very simple. Keep in mind, though, that the install script is specifically made for Debian-based systems and has only been tested on Debian 13. So if you try to run it on anything else Debian-based, like an Ubuntu or a Pop! OS or a Mint, good luck. The dev does not know if it's going to work. Also, you're on your own if you want to run it on something like Arch or anything else like that. Again, this is very, very early, and the dev probably never expected that someone would make a video on this. Whilst this is not something I would go out of my way to run, I just don't really have nostalgia for this era of computing. This is really cool. I do think it is really neat. And for people that do have nostalgia for this era, hey, I hope the project goes well, and maybe at some point it'll actually be complete, it'll actually be ready to run on hardware, and you can relive your childhood, or for some people, relive your early 20s, because I've seen my statistics. I've seen my statistics. Anyway, this was just something fun that someone sent my way. I thought it was neat. I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to do something entirely unserious because, you know, it's fun to just make a project that doesn't have any consequences. It's fun to just do something fun. Imagine that. Not everything has to be important. Not everything has to save the world. Anyway, check out the project, go help it out, go support it, do all that fun stuff. If you liked the video, go like the video, go subscribe as well, and if you really liked the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon subscribe Silly Therapy linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and let me know what your first operating system was. I would love to know. Mine, I think I first used XP, but my first home system, that was Vista.
Like this.